What is going on, everyone, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. Fantasy Premier League is back, and that means that we are too. Today, I'm joined by FPL expert, the big man Bakar. A lot of you will know his face. If you're new to the channel, you might not, but he is going to be revealing his current first draft for the FPL season 2024-2025. Bakar, a pleasure to have you back on the channel. For people who might not know who you are, you have hundreds of thousands of followers at this point, but some people might not know who you are. Let me give you a brief little introduction into who Bakar is. This is a man that once came fourth, that's right, fourth in FPL. Apart from that, he's also come in the top 5k twice and in the top 20k 3 more times. So Bakar knows what he's talking about. Also had a very, very good finish last year. I believe you came inside the top 20k last year, didn't you, Bakar?
Yeah. Hi, Jack. Thanks for having me. Hello, welcome to all the listeners and viewers. It's been a long time. I'm super excited with the game launch. I finished 14k last season, so it was a good, productive one for me. I just love the way FPL have priced the players this season, man. I mean, it is making for a very engaging debate when it comes to HAALAND or no HAALAND and some of the other picks as well. It's very, very sort of difficult to build an optimal team that you like, because whatever team you make, you will have to make some compromises somewhere.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think this is going to be a very challenging season, and I'm sort of looking forward to it.
You know what? Let's just get into it. I want to see your team right away because, as you say, I think they've priced it really well this year. Last year, it felt a little bit too much like you could just have everyone that you wanted, whereas this year, that is just not the case at all. Yeah, here we go. We're going to build Bakar's team player by player on Fantasy Football Hub's My Team tool. The brilliant thing about this is that afterwards, we're going to get a game week rating out of 100, a percentage, and a predicted points. So you can see pretty much according to Fantasy Football Hub how well Bakar has set up his team. And you guys can do the same afterwards. If you want to compare your team, your current team to Bakar's, obviously an FPL expert that's come fourth in the past, then you can do so. Who knows? Your team might be better as it stands. Let's get into it, my friend, starting with the goalkeepers. Who have you gone for?
Yeah, so in goal, I was actually surprised to see the Chelsea goalkeepers being priced at 4.5 million. All of them are priced at 4.5. I'm expecting Chelsea to improve defensively, and considering their promising fixture run apart from their first fixture, it's really good. That practically rules out spending on a 5 million goalkeeper or higher for me, because it just means that I expect the Chelsea defense to be good value, that I don't exactly have to go out of my way to spend, let's say, any more on any other keeper. I don't exactly know who's going to be first choice, but the early murmurs that we hear are suggesting that Sanchez will be one. So I have him in my first draft as of now. But of course, depending on how preseason goes, this can change. And whoever we think will be first choice at the start of the season will be in my team.
Yeah, I'm a Chelsea fan, and I'm not sure either, to be honest. I think Petrovic had a decent end to the season last year, but the new manager does like a keeper that is very comfortable on the ball, and Sanchez supposedly is very good on the ball. I'm not completely convinced myself, but yeah, I think at 4.5 the Chelsea defense is definitely good value there for the goalkeepers. Let's leave the sub goalie till now. We'll leave the subs to the end. Let's just do the starting 11 first. So let's move on to defense.
Yeah, so my defense has Trent. He was the first name on.
Wow. Okay, he's back. He is back.
Absolutely, and he was the first name on my team sheet, and I don't think that will change before the game week 1 deadline.
Okay.
I think not owning Trent at 7 million with those runner fixtures is not advisable. I say that because at 7 million, I expect him to be good value, and that is even without considering the fixtures. And given that Liverpool have the best opening run out of all teams in the league to begin with, I expect Trent to be really, really solid value. So when I just read the fixtures for the benefit of the listeners, they read Ipswich, Brentford, Man United, Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Chelsea for the first 8 game weeks. Now that is a very good run to have.
Yeah.
And I expect him to be a bonus monster as well, just because the chances he's created. When you even look at his data over the last season, he was in the top 3 for all the relevant statistics among defenders, whether it be XGI, chances created, or big chances created. And what I've also noticed is that the new Liverpool manager, Arne Slot, His fullbacks at Feyenoord had fairly encouraging numbers. So his right back last season, he was averaging around zero point 0.4 xG per 90, which is really, really solid for a fullback. And if Trent is in any sort of that role, which we expect him to be, then at 7 million, I expect him to do really, really well.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, a player that really wasn't in many teams at all last season, potentially because I mean I know he started in a lot of teams, but the lack of clean sheets there and just his lack of goal involvement compared to previous seasons, and the fact that he was just priced so highly compared to other defenders, I think was pretty telling. But yeah, this year he's very, very reasonably priced compared to other, massive defenders who did really well last year. Who's your next defender going to be?
My next defender is actually Gabriel from Arsenal.
Okay.
I think I want some Arsenal representation in my defense simply because how elite their defense was. Uh, they were first for clean sheets, first for all the underlying data that there is, first for non-pen XGs, etc. And they were fixture proof for a long period. I remember I owned Saliba and Gabriel for practically more than half the season, and they
Mm.
served me really, really well. I expect that to be the case again. And at 6 million, Gabriel should offer good value. I was actually surprised to see uh, the relative ownerships as of now. And Saliba is actually much higher. Saliba is 41, close to 41%, and Gabriel is close to 14. So that's a significant difference. But I'm surprised because Gabriel's underlying data last season was much better. He had double the XG, big chances, shots in the boxes compared to Saliba. And in fact, Gabriel had the highest XG in the league among all defenders. So yeah, that's a bit surprising for me. So I've gone Gabriel. Even with some of the tough fixtures, I think I can play him in most of the fixtures, and he's still going to be good value.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I guess the one thing you could say is maybe with a couple of signings that could happen, and also Timber's return to fitness, we're not 100% sure who's going to be nailed on there. But I don't know. It'd be strange if Gabriel wasn't in the team. I guess the start of last year we did have that where he was unexpectedly dropped out of nowhere, and I'm just thinking there could be more rotation, but who knows? Who knows? Let's move on to the next defender.
The next defender is Joshua Guardiol from Man
Wow,
City.
this is a stacked
Now,
defense here. This is a lot of money
yeah,
going into defense.
yeah, it's probably hinting at something which you don't want to address right now, but we'll come to it later.
Yeah,
But Guardiol, I mean, he was a rank killer. I think I would have finished top 10K last season had I owned him. I did not own him for the entire season basically, and in the last 7 game weeks he killed me with his alls.
yeah,
And in that spell in 7 games he was playing. He was playing as a left winger more or less, and he got 6 attacking returns. He's basically one of City's only major main defenders who are actually going to be featuring in preseason. So I'm pretty certain that he'll be first choice when it comes to the start of the season. And Guardiola, we've seen sort of time and again that he tends to go with a consistent starting 11 to begin with, and then he sort of starts rotating once Europe kicks in. So I think Guardiola is going to be a starter at the start of the season. And City after Arsenal have the best underlying data when it comes to defense. So yeah, again, similar reasons for picking Gabriel. I just think at 6 million he's going to be good value again.
yeah. I agree with you on that. I think he is pretty much nailed. I think other players perhaps played a little bit longer in the Euros as well. Will need some time off to recover. And yeah, he is just class, isn't he? I agree with you. Just killed me end of last season. Just scoring just worldies out of nowhere on his weak foot. It's just unbelievable. But yeah, okay. That is your three at the back. Are you going to be playing a four starting or no?
In certain weeks, yes, and in certain weeks, no.
Okay.
But I've actually gone with two 4.5 defenders to make up the rest of
Wow.
the team.
Okay.
I think they offer consistent value and they cover the fixtures really, really well. So, for example, Guardiola has Chelsea on the opening day, or when Gabriel is playing Spurs and Man City in Game Week 4 and 5, these guys can slot in because they rotate really well and they cover for the bad fixtures for all of these guys. So, I've gone with two 4.5 defenders I expect to offer good value, Konza and Burn.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not entirely sure whether Burn will be first choice, but Botman is out till December. And if Newcastle don't sign another defender, then there's every chance that he is. For now, we'll assume that he is. And at 4.5 million, I expect him to do a decent job considering that Newcastle have a good fixture on. Villa as well when it comes to Konza. Really good fixtures, especially after game week 3.
Mm.
So I think they can sort of do a job in my team and help me in making most of my squad.
Konza's one of those picks that people might not initially look at as an option just because the opening three are quite challenging. The only home game there, Arsenal. But yeah, as you say, long-term rotation with someone like a Gabriel, Everton at home, Wolves at home, Game Week 4 and 5, the exact fixtures in which you'd want to bench Gabriel. And we'll get on to the new features with 5, being able to roll 5 transfers now later on in the video once your team's done. But I think that is probably an important reason as to why you've gone with someone like Konza, maybe thinking even further ahead than perhaps you usually would. But that rounds off the defense. And yeah, there's a lot of money in there. I mean, usually we would see a 4 million basement defender there. I'm not sure about 6, 7 either. I mean, it's a lot of money, but we'll see where you have where you've potentially sacrificed later down the line. Let's before we jump into the midfield, actually, just want to say that as you guys can see, we've got predicted points here for all players, and I've sorted the players over here on the right by their predicted points over the next 4 game weeks, the first 4 game weeks. It's a I think it's a very useful tool because you can sort by price, sure, but that might bring up someone like Trippier, who we're not sure at all if he's going to start the season, let alone is he going to do well. And he's coming in at 6 million. But in reality, is he a great pick at 6 million? Well, according to the predicted points, no. It means nowhere to be seen at all. So this is why a tool like Fantasy Football Hub's predicted points, which you can use completely for free, by the way, just click the link in the description or the pinned comment, is very insightful. It tells you more than just a price or even a percentage ownership. So let's get into the midfield now. Who have you got?
So the first name here is Mo Salah. I just think, given how good Liverpool's opening fixtures are, a captain from Liverpool is needed. And I just don't think anyone comes close to Salah when it comes to Liverpool. I still think he's time and again proven to be Liverpool's talisman, and I expect that to be the case again.
Do you think he'll be back this year? Because he didn't. Let's be honest, he didn't have a great, by his standards, which have been so high. He didn't have a very good season last year in terms of goals and assists from a fantasy perspective. A lot of games he didn't really seem too involved for what we expect of him as a captaincy option week in, week out. We weren't captaining him much last year.
30 returns is still very impressive, I think.
Yeah.
He got 30 returns. I think that's still pretty good. I mean, I don't really buy into the narrative that he's not explosive. I still think on his day he can, get a hat trick still.
Yep, fair enough. And he does have a new haircut now, and he has had a hair transplant. So who knows? That might affect his aerodynamics. Let's move on to the next midfielder.
Yeah. I mean, since I can't afford Saka in this draft, I've gone with Odegaard as my Arsenal midfielder of choice.
Okay.
I think he'll be fairly consistent with his point scoring over the course of the season. And because of his chance creation, the bonus system is very, very likely to be kind to him as well. So I think I have Odegaard in my draft. I think before the game week 1 deadline, I will do my best to get Saka in, because I still think Saka is probably worth the extra 1.5 over Odegaard, but I'll sort of have to figure a way out to make that happen.
Do you think Saka's definitely going to start the season? Obviously played in the final of the Euros, and played
all
loads
these
of
guys
minutes across the tournament. He's only going to have like roughly, I don't know how long off, but his preseason is going to be curtailed because of that fact. Do you think he's going to start?
I mean, it's difficult to say. It's difficult to say with all these guys, actually, with Walker, Stones, Foden, even Saka. But I think I would, if I had to guess, I would assume yes. But I guess we'll hear more before the season starts.
To be fair, I think of the names you just mentioned there, I would expect him to start more above the others. I think Pep's more likely to rest players, but yeah, I think he's so important for that Arsenal team. Okay, who's next?
So the next is for anyone who's been following me over the years, you must be aware that Bruno Fernandes is exactly the kind of player I like to have in my field squad. Boring, completely nailed, and on penalties. He's just the talisman of the United team. And he's very output driven. I think he has plenty of routes to points. And he was, in fact, the top chance creator of last season, which gives him an edge in the bonus system as well. So, yeah, I think I'm almost certain that I'm going to start with Bruno. I don't really have many reservations over this pick.
People who watched the videos last year will be having nightmares about Bruno and Rashford at the start of 23, 24. But you reckon he's back this year?
So, I mean, even if United aren't playing well, or even if United aren't scoring as many goals, I just think that Bruno is the kind of player who will still jam his way to get some points, either one way or the other.
Okay, let's round off your midfield then. Who have you got in the fourth and fifth slots?
Eze is another player I'm really, really hot on. In fact, I think my early prediction is that he will be the Brian Mbomo of early last season.
Wow.
I think he's expected to be a key player for Palace this season. Uh, of course, he's nailed for starts, and there's little to no risk of him getting subbed early. And in the potential, in the absence of Elise, I think there's a good chance that he's on all set pieces as well. He's already on penalties. I think he's going to take over corners and other set pieces as well. And Palace have a reasonable run to start the
Yeah.
season. So if Eze can come anywhere close to sort of replicating his form in the previous season, which saw him register 16 returns and 24 starts, then I think he's going to be great value.
Yeah. I mean, over the first four fixtures, he's predicted to score very, very similarly to the some of the top players, really, apart from Salah. I mean, he's just 2 points behind Foden, 1 point behind Saka. It's pretty esteemed company. It's a weird one with Elise because sometimes you think when a really top quality player like him leaves, does it open the door for someone like Eze to, yeah, as you say, be on all set pieces, really just dominate in that side and become sort of the talisman? Or do you think the opposite and think we're losing a great player here, we're going to be a worse team?
That's why I'm sort of comparing him with Mbomo, because we had a very
Oh,
similar
yeah.
situation
Yeah.
last season when Tony wasn't there, and Mbomo took over the set pieces, he took over the penalties, and he absolutely killed it at the start of the season. And I think Eze could benefit from the potential absence of Elise.
Sure. Okay, who's your last midfielder?
The last midfielder it's a bit of a gamble given that we haven't really seen this guy perform to the levels that we expect him to. But because he's priced so kindly, I see him to be a potential game breaker if he stays healthy and if he has a good
Ah,
preseason. I think FPL have gotten most prices right, but I think Nkunku is one who has the potential to make an absolute mockery of his price tag if he stays fit. So I've gone with Nkunku in the hope that he shows some form in preseason. If not, then I mean there are plenty of picks at 6.5. I can just swap him to, for example, Gibbs White as an option that I like with the fixtures. But I would really like to own Nkunku.
yeah. It's interesting here because his predicted points are low, which I think is reasonable given that he has really barely played any games for Chelsea at all. But you're right, it is he's one of those that if he does, get back to fitness consistently, and he does have a run of starts in the team, he will make a mockery of that price tag. There's no doubt about that. This means obviously no Palmer then for you. I believe did he score the most points in fantasy last year?
He did. I still think he's a good option, but I think I prefer the Arsenal midfielder to him. If I can get to Saka, for example, I think I would prefer him because, especially if Nkunku is fit and available, I expect him to come close to matching Palmer in terms of points. I mean, not exactly close to matching him, but definitely offering more value in terms of. I don't think that Palmer is worth the 4 million price difference if both are fit and playing.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's it for the midfield. Only 24.5 million in the bank, and we have a sub goalie to go as well. Let's move on to the attackers then. I think it's going to be impossible for a certain individual to be in this team.
Yeah, and as I was sort of alluding to earlier, I
Yeah.
have not selected Haaland. I think that might change before the Game Week 1 deadline when I might succumb to the FOMO of basically not owning him, because not owning him at home to Ipswich in Game Week 2 when he could potentially get a hat trick and
Mm,
people will have him captain is not going to make for great viewing. And it's one where potentially I'd have to sort of hide behind the sofa if I end up watching the game. But I just think the team without Haaland is actually looking a bit more stronger. It's looking a bit more balanced. Uh, it's basically giving me a really strong squad of 15. The trade-off with Haaland is if you get Haaland and Salah, maybe the team with, especially the midfield, won't look as good as it does with my team.
yeah.
And maybe I won't be able to get, the likes of Trent, Gabriel, Guardiola. I will probably have to sacrifice there as well. So it's a bit of a trade-off, and it's one that I'm currently leaning towards no Haaland, but it's by no means a decision that is set in stone, because I think I've seen some Haaland and Salah teams which look more or less as good as my team, and uh, yeah, depending on whatever information we have available before the deadline, I'll then sort of compare my no Haaland draft and my Haaland draft, and then I'll see which team is likely to score more points.
Yeah, sure. Okay, but for now, no Haaland. Who's in there instead?
Yes, I've gone Alex Isak as my first forward pick. Uh, I mean, his explosive potential was seen time and again last season. He was second only to Haaland for XG per 90 among all players in the league. And Newcastle have a fairly kind opening run to begin with, especially that very appealing home fixture to Southampton is great. So I think Isak will be there in my team. I really like him for that price. I don't think I'll sell him.
Any risk of rotation with Wilson? I feel like maybe we're past
Uh,
that point now.
Yeah, I was just going to say we passed that point.
Okay.
Isak is clearly their talisman, given how well he's been playing. And yeah, unless he's fit, if unless he's unfit, I don't think that will change.
Okay, next striker.
I've gone with two 5.5 forwards in my team. Both are penalty taking, which is something that I really like, and both have decent opening fixtures to begin with. I'm talking about João Pedro and Adam Armstrong. I sort of feel comfortable with owning both because given my team structure, I won't be compelled to play either week as a result of the flexibility that I have with eight playable attackers and a strong midfield and a strong defense. So yeah, I mean, I just think they sort of complement the rest of the squad really well to begin with.
Okay, absolutely. Let's finish things off with the goalkeeper. 5 million in the bank. This is. I'm actually very. It sounds pretty silly, but I'm actually very interested to what level you're going to go here with your sub goalkeeper, because that obviously has
Yeah.
massive ramifications with the money that you have left over.
Currently, because I have the spare zero point 0.5 to spend, I've gone with Henderson in goal. Ideally, I'd like to have a goalkeeper to rotate with Sanchez, and initially I had Verbruggen, but we've heard news that he's out for 6 weeks. So the Brighton goalkeeper is basically a write-off from this point in time. So I've gone with Henderson instead, who I expect to be Palace's first choice.
Ooh,
He sort of
okay.
rotates well with Sanchez as well. And yeah, I just really like the look of Crystal Palace since Glasner's took over. I remember he took over in Gameweek 26 last season, and since then Palace were very, very solid. In fact, when I looked at their data this morning, I checked that they were fourth for non-pen XG conceded, and in that spell, in 13 games, they kept 5 clean sheets as well. So if they come close to replicating that this season with the fixtures they have, I think Henderson could offer good value.
Now, interestingly, Fantasy Football Hub have Henderson at 0 predicted points. They expect Johnston to start the season, which
Yeah.
is different to what you're saying, but
I
we'll know from
yeah.
preseason, won't we, which of those two is going to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah, of course, this will change before the game week one deadline.
Yeah,
The algorithm will obviously vary depending on whatever information it gets. Uh, but again, from my team, I think in Nkunku, Sanchez, Henderson, all these guys, I don't think they will be given any points to the algorithm simply because the algorithm does not expect them to have regular minutes. So yeah, I'm
exactly.
not really sure I'm going to do that well on the team, my team rating as of now, but if my assumptions stay true um, till the end of the preseason, then I think come game week one deadline, this team rating will look very, very healthy.
Okay, let's see if you're right. Let's save the team and then let's see what your team rating is going to be. Now, based on everything you just said, what would you be happy with for a team rating this early on, obviously, and you've just said that
Yeah,
a few players
I don't.
aren't going to get a lot of predicted points here.
Yeah,
And then also, what predicted points would you be happy with?
yeah, because practically, I three of my players have zero expected minutes, so I don't expect the team rating to be great. Anything in excess of 85 will be fine, I think.
Okay, so it is actually 86% team rating, which isn't that
Yeah.
bad given that your goalkeepers are predicted to score 0 points.
Yeah, goalkeepers and Kunku
And
very
Kunku, yeah.
very low as well. Even João Pedro, I don't think he's been um, estimated to play as many minutes as he should.
Yeah.
So all these guys, they're a bit of a risk for rotation.
And I guess that is where your personal sort of viewpoint and analysis of the situation comes into it, because yeah, the data here is being used a lot based on last season as well. And it's not so much sort of human intuition. It's more just this. It is data driven. So what can the data suggest? And to be fair, does data suggest that Nkunku's going to start every game and score loads of goals? No, that's why his points are lower than one might expect. But it has to be like that. Otherwise, we're kind of just using too much of our human nature. And it leaves space for an expert like you to give your own personal thoughts. So there we go. That is the team. 86% team rating, 61 predicted points. You go first in the leaderboard of guests that we've had on the channel for your team rating. You've got to be happy with that, right?
I'm very, very surprised to hear that. I thought I'd be in the lower echelons.
Yeah, it's because you're the
actually.
first guest, my friend. You're the first guest.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
But there we go. You can't be too unhappy with that. I genuinely think 86% is not the worst for this time of the season, based on what you said. Guys, if you think you can beat Bakar's team rating completely for free, click the link in the description down below, and you'll be able to see if you can beat his team rating of 86% and his predicted points of 61. Would you take 61 points right now, Game Week 1, if I offered that to you?
I think so. Yeah, 61
really?
is a healthy total, I think. Yeah.
Wow, okay. Now, before we get into more discussions on your team, and I want to talk about the structure of your team because there's a lot of depth there. First of all, I want to show you guys a brand new feature on Fantasy Football Hub, which makes building your team so much easier. Okay, so as you can see on screen, now on desktop, on mobile, whatever app you're on, if you're on the browser, on the Fantasy Football Hub app, you can simply upload a screenshot of your team into the My Team tool, and you will get a team rating straight away like that. You don't have to go through and input each individual player. Just a screenshot, as you can see on screen, is all you need, and it will do it for you. It makes it so much easier. It also means that you can upload multiple screenshots of different drafts of different teams that you have and see which one does better according to the algorithm. And it's just, yeah, super simple. I know Bakar's been using it. He actually offered to send me a screenshot of his team before this video started, but I said, no, we'll build it. We'll build it slowly together so that people know what you're doing. But yes, that is a brand new feature. Again, completely for free. Get in the description right now. Click the link and see if you can beat Bakar. Okay, my friend. So looking at your team again, I want to now spend a couple of minutes just talking about the depth of your team, the reasons for you having 15 playing players primarily, and then let's open it up to a little discussion on the new changes that we're seeing in Fantasy Premier League this season and the effects that that's had on your play style and may well have on you and your decision making as we get into the season.
Yeah, so I think it's sort of important to have a robust squad to begin with, which I expect to be solid over the first 7-8 game weeks, because that's the horizon what I'm looking at when I'm building my Game Week 1 team. Because there will be occasions where you don't exactly have a transfer to make and you can just save a transfer, because FPL is giving us that flexibility to roll transfers. I expect that will be the case for plenty of managers.
Sorry, it's worth mentioning as well. I haven't explicitly said. For those of you that don't know, we're now allowed to roll up to 5 transfers for free. In the past, we could only do 2. It's a massive change to how we might play the game. Sorry, I should have explained that. Sorry, my friend, continue.
Having said that, I don't think it will make a huge difference to the way I approach the game personally, because there will be plenty of occasions where I see the opportunity to jump on a player who's in form with good fixtures at a good price, and I don't think I'll be able to resist it, because what you're playing for is to maximize expected points. So at the end of the day, while I do appreciate this change, and it will allow me to save in weeks where I want to and not waste a transfer or spend it in a position I'd not like to spend it, I still think most serious FPL managers will struggle to get past that stage where they're saving, let's say, more than 3 free transfers at a point, because something will always come up. There will always be opportunities to gain points. So yeah, I don't think it's something which will make a huge difference to my playstyle.
Yeah, interesting. I think the best thing about it personally is that you can, if you want to, play super passively, try and get to as many free transfers as you want. Obviously, that allows you then to make massive changes to your team. But the opportunity cost of that, especially early on in the season, is potentially missing out on players that, like you said, that are just lighting it up and are going to go up loads in their price, and you might miss out on quite a lot of team value early on. And also, yeah, I don't know. It's whether you think the benefit of those transfers will be later on, or you think I've never really needed 5 transfers before, so let's play a little bit more like I usually do, as you're saying. What do you think about hits this year? Do you think hits are just completely dead, or are they still kind of similar to how they were before?
No, they're not dead. I mean, there will be occasions where you might think taking a hit is necessary for the benefit of your team, especially if there are injuries. I don't think this changes my perspective too much, and I'd sort of want to touch upon some of the bonus changes as well. I think uh, the overall crux of it is that it will favor the forwards and the midfielders more than the defenders because, I'll give you an example. Uh, Previous season, there were plenty of occasions where you must have owned Pedro Porro, for example, and Spurs
Yeah.
conceded, one or two goals. And because Porro got an attacking return, he tended to sweep the bonus. But that's not going to be the case anymore because you're going to get penalized for every goal that you concede as a defender, -4 BPS, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And instead, what they've sort of done is they're giving additional BPS for getting winning fouls, and for having every shot on target. So I think it's going to work in the favors of the attackers and the midfielders a bit more. Having said that, I still think the change uh, is sort of marginal because you're still going to
Yes.
want to pick attackers who score goals and get
This is the
assists, and
main
you're
point
still
that
going to
people are
want.
forgetting. It's a really not a
Yeah,
massive change, I don't think. Like if you
I
score a
think it's
goal, you're
very
still likely
marginal.
to be in the bonus, as you're saying.
Yeah, and again, you're still going to be picking defenders who are likely to get the most clean sheets, right? So
Yeah.
it's not something which will change things massively, I don't think.
I think your Poro shout is perfect. I think that is the sort of player who potentially now you might think, yeah, okay, maybe he's not the one to go for because he's going to be losing, he's probably losing 3 points per goal, 2 to 3 points per goal based on what he was getting last season. If Tottenham are going to continue to concede quite a few goals, but yeah, that is it. Pretty good stuff, I would say, Bakar, for your first draft.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you very much, as always, for coming on. You're going to be a regular again on the channel this year. For you guys that may not know, Bakar will be revealing his team each and every week once the season gets going. We're also, of course, going to do some more videos in the build-up to the start of the season to see if Bakar's draft is changing. I'm sure it will. But yeah, for now, that is going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, with these videos, anything that you see on screen throughout the entire time, you can do yourself for free by clicking the link in the description and the pinned comment. If you then want to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub to take advantage of everything else, then this is the best time of the year to do it. It's currently 50% off. If you do not win your mini league this year, you will get your entire money refunded to you. This is a pre-season deal. It's pretty insane that that's a fact, but it literally is. So yeah, this is the best time to do it. I've saved that little thing till last. It's still late in the video, just so you loyal guys will know about it. Don't go spreading that because we're keeping it on the down low. But yeah, sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. If not, just go and check it out for free. Bakar, thank you, and we'll catch you guys very, very soon.